comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
I'm Ray Addison in the GB newsroom. The Prime Minister has discussed Russia's occupation of Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant with President Biden. Returning from his second holiday of the summer, the two leaders talked about the risk fighting poses to the facility. He also spoke to France's Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Mr Johnson has faced criticism for vacationing in Greece as inflation and energy prices continue to worry struggling families. Downing Street says he'll fully resume work tomorrow. Labour is accusing the government of having lost the plot over plans to allow doctors to write prescriptions, giving them discounts off of their energy bills. The British Medical Association says they completely reject the policy as it would add to GPs' already huge workload. It also says that floating these sorts of proposals via the media is deeply unprofessional. A government official says the policy would take a lot more work, but all ideas remain on the table. Dock workers at one of Britain's busiest ports began 8 days of strike action today. Nearly 2,000 union members at Felixstowe in Suffolk walked out for the first time in nearly 30 years. The port handles nearly half of all container freight that arrives into Britain. Union workers have already rejected a 7% pay rise as it's below the rate of inflation. Barristers are voting over a planned strike in a row with the government over jobs and pay. Members of the Criminal Bar Association in England and Wales have already staged brief walkouts. Now they're deciding if they should take uninterrupted industrial action from the 5th of September. The ballot closes at midnight tonight, with the result expected tomorrow. Greater Manchester Police has launched a murder investigation after 2 men were stabbed in Altrincham, one fatally. 31-year-old Rico Burton, the cousin of heavyweight boxer Tyson Fury, died after being stabbed in the neck at around 3 a.m. this morning. The second victim, a 17-year-old male, remains in hospital with serious injuries. 2 men in their early 20s have been arrested and remain in custody. Tyson Fury is calling on the government to tackle the knife crime pandemic and wants higher sentencing for those convicted of carrying a weapon. And the American actor Gary Busey has been charged with 2 counts of criminal sexual contact after appearing at a film convention in New Jersey yesterday. The 78-year-old was also charged with 1 count of criminal attempt, criminal sexual contact, and 1 count of harassment. The event organisers say the actor was immediately removed from the convention following a complaint. Mr. Busey's representatives did not immediately comment on the charges. On TV, online and on DAB+ radio, this is GB News. Back now to Nick Dixon and those headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm Nick Dixon. Yes, they've let me host the show tonight in what some people are calling a massive admin error, but don't worry, because I'm joined by 2 Headliners veterans, and I don't mean they're old. First up, she's so woke, I don't even dare make a joke about her in case she writes a blog about it. It's Sajila Kershi. And is that okay? And he's only here to fill our diversity quota of right-wing Scottish giants. Of course, it's Mr. Leo Kearse.
I'm offended.
you're offended. I called you a giant. I meant purely in a physical sense.
Oh my God! It's because I've broken my chair.
What?
You're just
massive.
No, I genuinely have broken my chair. That looks really weird.
Yeah, Leo, you should come down a bit. Come on, Leo.
Nah, I like it like this. It's good.
It's outrageous. All right, so I'm going to go through all tomorrow's stories with these guys in a minute. You've seen the show before, but let's smash through these front pages first. So, we've got the Mail with new blood tests could stop 1 in 10 cancer deaths. Holy Grail trial by NHS could save thousands of lives a year. Some good news for once. How about that, guys? The Daily Telegraph has NHS 111 patients on hold 20 times too long. Who knew the NHS had any problems? And also they've gone with Facebook risks grotesque betrayal of children, says Patel. And they were doing so well with their PR. So the Independent has gone with car bomb kills Putin's ally's daughter. Another very serious story about the war. And pollution targets missed by every water company. Doesn't sound great. The Guardian, crisis in care home staffing leaves residents with basic needs unmet. Another story about collapse in this country. They've got swimmers' sewage risk due to faults in monitors. And Ukraine fears Russia car bomb revenge. Financial Times, top Russian diplomat dismisses chances of Ukraine peace deal. Some more bad news from the FT there. Cheers for that. Daily Express, get paid to turn off your washing machine. That's a good scheme. I could sign up for that. And Boris back at the helm after holiday with a picture of him very much not at the helm, still on holiday. But apparently he's finally back. And the Sun's got Tyson's hell as cousin knifed to death. A very sad story about Tyson Fury's cousin there, the great hero boxer we all love. That's very sad. And the Metro, same story, Tyson's Fury at cousin's killing. And they've also got Team GB's Ben fights for his life in coma. And the Daily Star has drunk German wasps kick off with an incredible picture there of someone trying to swat multiple wasps. And that's very Daily Star. So those are the front pages. Let's get into it. So Monday's Independent has a plan for GPs to prescribe money off energy bills. I suppose there'll be fewer missed appointments, Leo.
Yeah, so Labour has accused the government of having lost the plot over plans for GPs to prescribe people cash to pay their energy and heating bills. I mean, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So, although it has to say, the opposition, the Labour opposition, don't have the best plans either. So, Mr Streeton said that Labour already has the right prescription for dealing with rising energy bills, because they pay energy companies to freeze the energy price cap where it is. So instead of going up to £6,000 or wherever it's predicted to go up to in April, it would stay at £3,000 over the winter and into the new year. But this would cost £36 billion to the taxpayer. So it's not like it wouldn't really, we'd just be robbing Peter to pay Paul, when we should really leave them both alone. And also, it wouldn't be a very progressive thing to do, because it would benefit rich people as much as it benefits poor people. And also, what if energy stays high? Are you going to continue this scheme, £36 billion a year, going forward into further years? It's been hugely popular though, and is credited for boosting Labour in the polls. But it just shows that people like the sound of free stuff.
Yeah, free stuff's always good. I don't know how it would work with private healthcare. What do you think, Sabina?
Well, I want to go back to the doctors prescribing, who gets heating. I mean, they can barely, see patients as patients. So I don't know how this was going to work out. How are they going to decide who wins the heating lottery?
Right.
And if people are going to not do their jobs, are we now going to be doing doctors' jobs? Are we going to do smear tests? Is that what's happening now? Are we all going to sort of move
swap
around?
Our roles?
Yeah, swap our
I'll
roles.
have a go.
Huh?
You'll have a crack at smear tests.
Yeah, and I'll do other stuff as well. I mean, come on, it's not rocket science. It's brain surgery.
Yeah.
So...
All right, well, I think we've smashed that story. Monday's Daily, we've got to start somewhere. Monday's Daily Mail and Kwasi Kwarteng is going to help families tackle rising bills. Who do you think he is, a doctor?
No.
Like you
How
just said,
does he think
roles.
he is? Well, Kwasi Kwarteng is actually tipped to be the new Chancellor, and that's because he's backing Liz Truss.
Yeah.
So, obviously, he's kind of hoping for that job. So he's revealing new measures for families to tackle these rising bills. Now, obviously, you've just touched on it. But the energy... I couldn't believe it. £6,000 by next April.
Yeah.
That's going to be... I mean, how How is that possible?
Well,
most comedians don't even earn that much.
How
a
dare
year.
you? Speak for yourself. I'm semi-retired.
Were you in favour of all the green energy?
No,
Green
this
energy
is interesting, right? Because I think it's a good thing that we didn't invest in green energy before. Because
we did, though.
because right. Because obviously the climate change has given us a really hot summer, I'm hoping that it'll give us a warmer winter, so which means that we'll have to use less heating. So we can also, warm up by candle by Christmas, because that's when we're going to have the blackouts and stuff. But if we've got like sunshine, it will still be quite daylight late in the evening, so it kind of works out. Even though I do want to protect the environment, but at the moment it's working out for us.
Isn't it normally the opposite? Like you have a really hot summer, then it's really cold in winter. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I think that could well happen. I think Western Europe has been caught napping, and I can't believe, as soon as Russia looked like it wasn't going to be a reliable energy partner, when Europe sort of made the move from being self-reliant in energy to saying, oh, well, let's just get our energy from Russia. That seems cheap and a good way to go about things. I can't believe as soon as Russia looked unreliable, we didn't just develop our own energy. So, it makes no sense. And also, all these things to reduce, energy price caps and things like that, the problem isn't that you can't fix the market. The problem is that there's not enough energy. There's not enough gas. There's not enough oil. So we can't fix that by saying, oh, we're going to subsidise it, because there's still not enough. If you've got 5 eggs, so the price goes up. If you've got 5 eggs instead of 10, so the price doubles. And then you say, oh, but we're going to introduce subsidies for eggs. You've still only got 5 eggs. You can only have 5 people having a fried egg. So, we need more energy. I can't believe the government still isn't getting this. We need to, start fracking right now. We should have been doing it years ago. We need to start drilling in the North Sea, the Cambo oil field. We need to start doing this right now. Like coal. Why don't we just start digging up coal again?
Oh, I grew up with coal.
Yeah, all these Labour voters are saying, oh my God, the Tories closed the coal mines down. Well, here's your chance to get down that coal mine with a shovel.
That's his impression of you, Sajila. That's how he thinks lefties talk.
Yeah.
I know. Can you please stop taking my job? Thank you. I thought I was the lefty in the middle here.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what Truss is actually going to do. She's sounding quite vague about it. She's got to promise something, but she said she's looking across the board. She's quite vague, and Kwarteng sort of ruled out windfall taxes, but he's saying help is coming. They don't say exactly what, but they're working on something, because they've got to do something about it.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think the vague is right. She doesn't know what she's doing. She had to backtrack with the one-off payment, because now she realises that isn't actually workable, and that there's going to be a lot, there's going to have to be something else. And literally, I think they're making up stuff on the spot. I mean, you go around doing the hustings. When have you got time to sit down and work out how actually to help us? And I think these hustings have been a really annoying, irritating thing, right? They should have just decided amongst themselves, neither of them are really that great, and just get on with helping us out this winter.
Yeah, because it's this endless Game of Thrones-esque hustings and leadership battle that's taken up all this time.
Over 8 weeks. I mean, it doesn't take 8 weeks. And it's also, because it's got so bitter and they've started, pointing out each other's weaknesses. Whoever comes into power doesn't come in this, wave of glory. They come in with everybody, with all these holes already picked in them.
Yeah. But I don't think it's been as nasty as people say. I mean, do you think Rishi will still get a role in the cabinet? He's been offered, I think, it's mooted that he'll get health, which doesn't seem like the best one, we'll give you health. But some people say it's been so nasty that he can't even take it. Do you think he'll get it? I don't know.
I don't know, but he's not going to win, and we all know. I don't know why we're wasting our time with this. Stop it.
But will he even be in the cabinet? The one thing that was, I thought, to be fair to Truss, she did say that there's no point taxing people just to take it back in benefits or give it back in benefits. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that's a fair point.
Yeah. If you filter money through layers of bureaucracy, you don't end up with more money. You end up with less money.
All right, well, I think we've smashed another story, so let's go to the Times. And this one is about someone as hated in Scotland as Boris Johnson, and incredibly, it's not Leo Kearse.
Just some people. People with neck beards hate me in Scotland, but I wasn't speaking about yours, although you would fit in. But talking of the next Tory leader, so Scotland is more likely to become independent if Liz Truss becomes Prime Minister, according to a survey of opinion across the Union. The research also suggests that Northern Ireland is on course to leave the UK within 20 years. So this is a panel-based survey. I mean, the conclusion is a little bit vague. It's well within the margin of error. So at the moment, it shows 49% support for independence and 51% support for the Union among those who've made up their minds. So these are the people, cast iron. So this isn't the overall population. There's another big chunk in the middle who, can be swayed either way. But support for staying in the UK falls slightly to 48%, if Truss becomes Prime Minister and stays at 49%, if Rishi Sunak takes over. So really, it doesn't make any difference, is what they're saying. I mean, that should be the headline. Doesn't make any difference. It's not that, Truss is more hated in Scotland. Nobody in Scotland really cares. A lot of them are rabid nationalists and want to leave anyway, even though it'd be the equivalent of, chewing your own arm off.
Because you were there in August, probably at the Edinburgh Festival. What was the vibe? Was there a vibe of like even more anti-Englishness, the same anti-trustness? Were people going around with anti-trust signs?
I was at the Edinburgh Festival, which is more English than England itself.
Oh, good point.
So yeah, it's basically an extension of.
And Edinburgh is fairly pro-union as Scottish towns go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, as far as I know.
Compared to it's
compared to Glasgow.
Yeah.
And I think it's more like in the Highlands and stuff when you get into the real sort of ultra-nationalist places.
I don't know if the Times here are kind of rooting for, by doing this story that, Liz Truss is really hated in Scotland, if they're putting their vote behind Liz Truss that, look, she's already hated, just to let you know she's going to be hated when she comes in power, or if it's like a sneaky kind of, like, she's really hated, so we should go for Rishi. So I'm not sure where they go. Yeah, it's like double kind of like, bluff here. I'm not sure what's going on here with the Times article. What do you think?
They've really spun a lot from basically nothing. I mean, the difference, 48% for Liz Truss and 49% for Rishi. I mean, come on, that's pretty much exactly the same.
No, you can tell. I mean, the Daily Mail did 3 "We Hate Rishi" stories in a row, whereas the Times have done lots of, hey, Rishi's great, Truss isn't. Yeah, it's not that subtle. But anyway, OK, she's going to win anyway, like we say. Let's crack on and do this one for Monday's Times. And is it time for me to get a second not a proper job, Sajeela?
Oh, my God. So, like, we kind of effectively are the gig economy comedians. So when we're not doing this, when we were doing gigs,
yeah,
like,
literally,
we would have to do economy, yeah, right, because we'd have to take lots of jobs and stuff. So this is basically a story in the Times, working 9 to 5, then 5 to 9. You see what they did there?
Yes.
Using a second job to beat inflation. So they're discussing this woman, Anne-Marie Clayton. She's not had a second job for 20 years. I didn't realise that was a fashionable thing 20 years ago, but there you go. But soaring costs has meant that she's basically, by day, she's a housing kind of, high up in the housing officer. And in the evening, she's a makeup consultant. And that's what she's saying, and she's sticking to that. The fact that she goes past, never mind, I wasn't going to go down a dark place. But so she's basically doing two jobs to get the income to kind of survive. Now, I kind of relate to this. I don't know about you guys, because I genuinely am one of those people who's really worried about the winter and really am sort of like trying to do as many jobs as I can. I don't mind hard work, but just to get through this winter, because it is like already you're feeling the pinch. So I understand why people have to do this. It really annoys me, going back to Liz Truss, her saying that British people are lazy. No.
They are, though.
Huh?
I mean, come on.
Well, that didn't bother me that much, because that's
Are you saying that as a Scottishman?
Yeah.
Did that really surprise you? A Conservative future leader potentially saying, people should work a bit harder. Wasn't that pretty mild? Isn't that what all Conservatives think?
It's
and they were like, it's a big scandal, is it?
It's one of the nicest attitudes to the British people I've heard a Conservative politician voice.
Yeah, her point was that we're not as productive as other countries. And she was saying, look, we're just not as productive and we're not keeping up. I mean, isn't that fair enough? You were offended by that?
I was offended that she said British people. But then on the other hand, I want to see what she says about when we need strawberry pickers and, potato pickers and all that stuff. And no one wants to do that. Fair enough. Then maybe they are being lazy. But then are you going to let immigrants come in to do those jobs? So she might be in a little precarious situation.
Just for a few months.
Just for a few... Oh, well, we've got, like, someone who's coming over for other reasons later on.
Stay at Leo's house for a few weeks and then they're gone. I mean, it also said that 50,000 more people have taken second jobs over the past year. I've even considered it. Obviously, I'd never leave GB. I was thinking, what could I do in the day? Can I do something else? Because not just inflation, there's cost of living, there's just living in London. Yeah. Or if you want to get a mortgage, you've got to, have all this money just to pass the mortgage, you know what I mean? They say that in future rent might help, but that's not been brought in, so you have to have a massive income to get a mortgage. What do you think, Leo?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people... I mean, I'm used to sort of having what do they call it? A patchwork career where you have, various little chunks.
Gig economy.
The gig economy. So you've got various other things going in. I mean, one thing that worries me, because she mentions she works as a sales consultant for a beauty brand, and I think there's a lot of these kind of jobs that are... if not pyramid marketing, then social marketing. And I think this can be really corrosive to social networks and your social life. Because I was a victim of it. Like my friend Dean, who's a comedian and actor. So I met up with him. We had a group that went for a meal, and the next day he phoned me up. And you know when you get a phone call from somebody in the industry, you're like, oh, this might be a job. And so he phones me up, and yeah, it was a job, but it was selling Herbalife.
I knew you were going to say Herbalife. For some reason, I knew that's what you were going.
It was the sales. He just went straight into the sales pitch at like 100 miles an hour and talking about like, have you ever dreamed about flying a helicopter and all this? And I was like, have you been rattling some sort of powder?
What was the link between getting a helicopter and drinking a sort of rubbish shake?
Yeah.
Not that we want to diss Herbalife, but are we allowed to say that it's rubbish?
Apparently.
A shake that's really nutritious.
It's in our opinion. In our
Yes,
opinion.
a neutral shake.
If you manage to sort of force enough of your friends and family to buy it, then you can eventually afford a helicopter, apparently.
I see. All right. Well, let's do one more before the break. So this is Monday's Daily Mail, and universities want to raise tuition fees, presumably because they've been offering such a good service over Zoom.
Yeah, they got to pay for that talk internet somehow. So tuition fees need to increase by up to 40% to £13,000 a year to stop the reliance of universities on international students, according to higher education bosses. There's domestic fees at the moment are under £10,000. They're about £9,250, whereas universities are taking in more international students because they pay a lot more, so they get a lot more profit. International families pay £24,000 for their children to go to British university. Like, why would you bother doing that? I went to university, everybody was thick. I thought I was going to get there, it was going to be like being in some sort of Hugh Grant movie, but no, it's just all the plebs that aren't at university, but they just put them in a university. So you don't learn anything, you get like this degree that's completely worthless. It's a load of nonsense. Just get a trade. My brother's a welder. Be a welder.
Yeah.
It's a great time.
It was sort of that exam inflation thing. Tony Blair wanted education. Let's send 50% of people to university. Then it devalues it. Is there any point even going, Sajila?
I don't think there is. I mean, my son has gone through that system and had, still paying off. Well, he hasn't paid off yet because obviously, if you earn he's an actor, so that's never going to get paid off. But yeah, it obviously, he's taking out a loan. That's going to be paid back. And I don't know if increasing home students fees is going to be helpful. Like you're already getting the money from overseas students. Why not just lower the so that more people can go to university if they want to? But I don't think that's necessarily the answer anymore.
Yeah, well, their argument is that it's due to inflation, and it's 9,250 is the cap now, which will be the equivalent of 6,000 in 2025. Do you buy that argument, Leo? You're our inflation expert.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the inflation of goods over time, healthcare is one that's shot up a lot, but university fees have also shot up a huge amount over the past few decades. And I don't really think that people are getting the bang for their buck that they used to. I think if you went to university in the 60s, you're in a much smaller pool relative to the population that were getting educated. So it counted for some. Now, so many people are going to university, there's all these nonsense degrees.
Yeah,
I mean, fair enough if you're
degrees.
doing law or medicine or something like that, but if you're doing gender studies, come on.
What did you do?
I did film and media.
Oh, I did a media study.
Oh, really?
I
You
did
Smashed
media
it. You're
studies.
both in media.
Yeah,
That's a
we
rare
did both
example
medias,
of it
yeah.
working out.
Eventually.
And anthropology.
Well, I did English literature. And now here I am spreading right-wing propaganda. So that's all for part one. Coming up in part two, we've got cyclists taking over, a 5G conspiracy that's actually real, and Joe Biden is worried about his TikTok account. See you in two.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me! And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. Over a drink, we have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to what will soon be called Nick Dixon's Headliners. I'm Nick Dixon, and I'm here with Sajila Kershi and Leo Kersey, to his friends. I'm more of a colleague. So let's crack on. Monday's Metro and the one remaining industry that wasn't on strike is now going on strike, Sajila.
OK, so the headline is Return of Empty Shelves. Staff at UK's biggest port go on strike for 8 days. So it's basically 1,900 Unite union staff workers in Felixstowe, which is the biggest port, have gone on strike for 8 days, and it's the first time since 1989.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like wrapping it up, saying, well, it's you know, don't see, it's like, obviously we know the reasons why they've gone on strike, but it's not an inconvenience. They're saying it's an inconvenience, not a catastrophe,
right,
because we're used to delays because of COVID.
Yeah, that's the bit that freaked me out. It said disruption is the new normal.
Yeah.
Really, let's just lower the bar to disruption is normal. Did that bother you a little bit?
I know. It's like, well, you know, you're used to it anyway, so why bother? But the thing is, it's usual. So Unite General Secretary Sharon Graham, she's basically said the Felixstowe docks made profits of £61 million in 2021, and its parent company, CK Hutchinson Holding Limited, is so wealthy that in the same year they handed out 99 million to their shareholders. So obviously they can pay their workers. And this is, we see this like across...
That's not that much money. I mean, like, everybody's like, oh my God, no, but they're operating a huge port. They've got huge overheads, a lot of risk.
Ordinary workers are not getting any of the profits.
They are. They're getting a pay rise that's worth 10%.
10% is not in keeping with what they've been used to. So they're
used to
using
getting
that
ridiculously high wage rises.
The thing
and
is,
now they're not. And plus, they probably nick stuff off the ships. Like,
you're just against the unions, but I
am against the unions.
Really? He's joined equity. He's joined equity. That's a union.
Oh no, I'll maliciously comply with any system you put in front of me. So yeah, I'll join equity. Yeah,
and there's a comedian's one about to join as well. The point is that they are using this. This employers are saying, oh well, you know, this is what they tend to do, sort of black mark the unions for going on strike. And the strike is a last resort. Like, they would have gone through many negotiations. They would have talked many times over the table before they went.
Last resort would be quitting your job.
Before they went.
Why don't they quit their jobs? Get other jobs. They could be Herbalife consultants.
Well, they've already had their co-workers. Their co-workers in another area, getting sacked by 800 of them by Zoom, which is like they're really worried about this. So they're obviously going to try and protect their own sort of jobs and their own assets.
These ones by Zoom. I mean, how hard can it be to unload some stuff off a ship? Bet I could do it.
Wow.
Well, there you go. There's your second job. There's your second job.
James O'Brien, who the other day said that manual labour was easier than his job on the radio. Is that what you're saying? Well, media is
it'd definitely
harder.
be easier for me than it would be for James O'Brien, because he's a bit pudgy, and I'm just pure lean Scotch beef. But yeah, this apparently it's not even going to be a problem.
Into a job.
It's not even going to be a problem because the sales of the stuff that's being unloaded from the ships, because of the state of the economy, people aren't buying it anymore. So this has actually come at just the right time, so we don't get a huge oversupply in warehouses.
Okay.
But I think the fact they're getting this, they've been offered this big beefy pay rise. Because remember, any money that they get is basically money that's being taken away from other people. So it's not magic money that comes from nowhere.
It needs to come. Money needs to topple down from the top. If they've made those profits, some of those profits, what they're saying, should go to the workers.
Shareholders are like pension funds and things like that. There could be some some nurses' pension fund that isn't going to get its money if, we take money out of that.
It's coming from the top. What they're saying is that you're making this profit. That profit should filter down.
But the
into
profit
the
does.
organisation.
Shareholders are generally just regular people through pension funds, through unions.
Yeah, but they're getting 99 million. I might just remind you. That's not exactly
not a lot of
nothing.
money.
That's not a lot of money.
nothing
But
to Leo.
we don't know how many people though. We don't know how many we've divided it by.
That's like
Obviously,
one.
That's 1 month of YouTube for Leo.
That's one Dua Lipa single. You know what I mean? This is not. We're not talking earth-shattering.
Can I ask one thing quickly, Sajila? Are you in favour of strikes? I know you sound fairly pro-strike. Are you in favour of the tube strikes, which are an absolute nightmare, aren't they, for London?
They are a nightmare, and it did stop me from getting into GB News doing Marky Mark show. Oh no, I did do Marky Mark show. It was this. Yeah, I didn't do headliners once because of the strikes, but I am pro. In fact, I met Mick the other day.
Mick Lynch.
Yeah. So I'm a bit swayed. Whatever he says, I'll go with now.
Well, the problem with the tube ones, it destroys the economy, and they're making workers like you suffer, Sheila. They're the workers, like we're the workers, but you're also the worker.
Yeah, I'm also the worker, but as a worker, I support other workers.
OK. We all know Leo doesn't already. We've established that. But at least we found Leo's second
Back
job
to the room.
in a warehouse. We're going to move on. So Monday's Times, and this terrible war continues to rage between cyclists and drivers, Leo.
Yeah, so basically, in 2022, Boris Johnson announced this revolutionary plan to build more cycle lanes, thousands of miles of them, as a haven from motor traffic. So they built these cycle lanes, and it's 2 years on. And now there's questions being raised over who should use them, because there's now a lot of vehicles that sort of qualify to go in these lanes. You've got e-scooters, microcars, which are like quadricycles, apparently. I don't know.
I don't know what they are.
Have I missed some sort of great technological leap forward? We've gone on back to the future.
Probably to you, all cars are microcars.
There's e-bikes, and of course you've got delivery riders with cargo and ordinary cyclists, all in these lanes, which are apparently 2 metres wide. So and some of these, e-bikes can go at least 20 miles an hour. Which is the speed limit on the road in a lot of places. So they're saying, well, why don't we get these e-bikes and things like that to go on the road where they're going at the same speed as the cars, and then they won't be a danger to children and old people.
Yeah, that sounded weird to me, though. We want everyone on the same piece of road, they said. It was sort of, they're bringing everything down to the level of a cycle, bringing everything down to 20 miles an hour. That sounded weird to me.
Did you? I thought the other way around. I thought it was like the bike lane, and then who gets priority. And I was thinking, OK, well, Deliveroo, if they're delivering my meal, I want Deliveroo to be having priority. And then the cyclists, and then the speedy Gonzali little scooter things, they can go in the main road because they're really dangerous. But if we make our roads any wider, it's going to be like we're living in America.
Yeah, and there's no space for cars anymore.
No,
if you noticed, driving, I've noticed in cabs, there's a turning onto Chiswick High Road, where the guy always turns into the cycle lane because there's 2 lanes for cars now. The rest is buses and bike lanes.
I mean, we're getting so divisive. Everyone's got their own lane.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we can move on because I'm not that interested in bikes. And I do like the next one because we've got 5G Wars now, which is also the name of an internet forum I run, Sajila.
Yeah. Oh, so Hawaii 5G. Oh.
Huawei.
That's where
I get it.
So, that's as good as it's going to get today, guys. So basically, 5G was the US plot to make Britain ditch Hawaii. Is it pronounced? Huawei. So it's the first company worldwide to launch the industry's first 5G commercial chip. And I did read the article, but it's very bulky. And I know my learned colleague here knows a lot more about it. But I did read on the gov.uk website when I was researching this that the Hawaii is to be removed from UK 5G networks by 2027. So it's on the .gov UK.
Yeah. Well, my take on this was they were complaining that an American former Marine, Matthew Pottinger, came over and shouted at them for hours, and he was really loud and obnoxious. I'm like, he's just American. He's an American Marine. That's what they do. But this is a guy that's highly rated by Steve Bannon. And Bannon is kind of known for being kind of obsessed with the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, quite rightly, because that's the big problem for us in the world. But the issue was that UK were not taking seriously enough the threat of Huawei, the Americans claimed, but UK was saying, well, no, we're taking it all seriously. You're too focused on that one thing, and you're getting obsessed with, Huawei's evil.
Well, yeah, and also the Brits were a bit put out that they'd actually warned, I think they'd actually done the analysis, I can't find the quote, but they'd warned, they'd done the research and found that I can't find it. But they basically warned America about something, and then America had come back to them and acted like they knew first. But yeah, Britain went ahead with using Huawei because its products were significantly cheaper. So two years before, the Brits had warned of the threat. Warned the White House of the threat. But yeah, so they went ahead because Huawei were cheaper than Nokia and Ericsson. But yeah, I mean, like a Trojan horse by an evil, nefarious communist regime that opposes the West and wants to bring it down is obviously going to be cheaper because they want to get it in so they can spy on us.
Yeah, that was definitely my concern. I mean, as I've said before on this show, everything from China is potentially spying on you.
Yeah.
Your underpants, small little cars that children use, anything. They've got it all bugged. And we may as well move on to the next one because it's very much the same thing, because Joe Biden is worrying about TikTok. And I'd be amazed, personally, if he even knows what it is, Leo.
Yeah, so TikTok, talking of things from China that spy on us, TikTok is an app that's taken over the world. It's completely idiotic, and it's used by China to destabilise Western culture, as far as I can tell. So since Joe Biden was elected in 2020, TikTok has been downloaded 110 million times in the United States, and last year it became the first non-Facebook app to be downloaded 3 billion times globally, despite being banned from India, which is a market of 1.4 billion people. And users spend loads of time on it. So the users spend an average of 95 minutes a day on TikTok, which is insane because it's all idiotic. Yeah. It's all just like Andrew Tate explaining, some misogynist nonsense or nurses dancing.
Yeah, but the videos are also so short. That's about 8,000 videos a day.
Yeah. So you wonder, people are always like, oh my God, I've got so many views. I've had so many views on my stand-up clip. It's like, yeah, but everything gets loads of views on TikTok because, like you say, everybody gets 1 million views a day. So basically, Joe Biden's administration is worried that there's a lot of disinformation being spread in it. They're worried about the algorithm being opaque, possibly controlled by China. I mean, TikTok is ultimately owned by China. We've seen in previous election campaigns, such as when Trump got elected, with Brexit, we've had political campaigns exploit social media data to get an edge through Cambridge Analytica, for example, with Steve Bannon and Trump.
What do you think, Steele? Because it's tricky with TikTok, because on the one hand, China's using it to spy on us. On the other hand, you can watch hot women dancing. So
I know. It's a dilemma, isn't it? A sexist dilemma. Well, I think we should go back to the old-fashioned way of electing, our leaders and leave social media out of it, because I do think social media did, I agree with you, played a part with Trump. But if we are going to use it, and I think to get rid of the boringness of the last few weeks of the election between Truss and Rishi, I think they should have just done a TikTok and got us just to watch the TikTok. Maybe Rishi could have been eating a McDonald's breakfast. Maybe Liz, she could have been, I don't know, showing us what a lazy Brit looked like. I don't know. I think we should have voted that way.
We need more cringe videos from Rishi. Didn't you see that one the other day?
I did.
I'm the underdog. I'm the underdog. I'm twice as rich as the Queen.
He's the underdog a little bit.
He was the front runner. He was the favourite. He's twice as rich as the Queen.
He reminds me of you a little bit.
Me?
Yeah. Because when you do your underdog thing here, and you're not really.
Oh, well, I'd like to swap accounts with him. I'll give you that.
No, looks after
bank
himself
accounts,
a lot better than
not TikTok accounts.
Who does? Rishi.
He looks what?
Looks after himself more.
How dare you?
I know, that's a slur.
Let's do one more before the break, because the Times is saying that a whistleblower has recorded her boss's racist chat. I mean, it's one way to get a raise, I suppose.
Well, no, she didn't get a raise. It was constructive dismissal. So a black NHS worker has launched legal action against the Health Services Blood and Transplant Authority after witnessing years of alleged racism within the service. So the woman's called Melissa Thermidor.
Hope her sister's called Lobster.
Lobster, and basically this is kind of a battle against her and her Betsy Bases and Millie Banerjee, who were the chief executives.
Real names?
Yeah, they're real names. It's really weird because I thought that. I thought they don't seem like real names. But they were chief executive and chairwoman who've denied the allegations, of course. And basically, they were saying things like, white donors are more likely to shop at Waitrose and black donors are more likely to shop at Tesco. And I was like, what's wrong with... I mean, I can see that everybody thinks Waitrose is posher, but maybe in the area where they're talking about, maybe white people were going to Waitrose more and more black people were going to Tesco's. I don't know. It depends which area you're living in.
I mean...
My area, it's all white, like in the Gatwick Airport. We don't have hardly anyone there anyway because I go at midnight.
Yeah, that just seems like stupid racism. I mean, like, if you're going to be racist...
the good kind.
But if I can...
make it
Yeah, because I mean, she's not incorrect because it has had they've had years. It's not just her, where others have alleged there's been bullying, racism, poor culture under these two women, I think they're women, Basis and Banerjee's leadership.
Yeah.
And now that happens quite often in organisations. Obviously, they've resigned. So they've got a new kind of boss in, you know, like obviously they're changing around. Hopefully this will all kind of toxic stuff will go away. She's so I don't know what, because she's a whistleblower. Whistleblowers normally should be protected from, you know...
we know this one's name, and it's quite a funny name. But I mean, it's quite strange that Tesco, as if Tesco's so awful. In the north, Tesco's a luxury. We got a Morrison's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If
we even have food.
Do you think Morrison's is posher?
Yeah, Quick Save is the cheap one.
No. But can I just go on then?
Can I, like, because she says in this, because she says she was it was like constructive dismissal. I don't know what that really is, but. She says, I wouldn't stop raising the issues. The more I raised things, the harder things got for me. It's like, yeah, because you've been a total pain. You sound like a total nightmare to work with. Like, I mean, somebody at work, like, just going around saying, oh, you're too racist, this is racist, that's racist. Bear in mind, the women...
But she wasn't the only one that had those complaints,
Yeah, though. But this is a mixed race. So Betsy Basis is white, and Millie Banerjee, the two people who are in trouble, is Indian.
You tell me all the time how people of colour can be racist.
Yeah, but
you know, this is like a conversation we've had before. So it's not.
Yeah,
like...
but I wouldn't ever try and get somebody in trouble over it.
Huh? But also, she did say that she raised concerns about her treatment by a boss in 2017 for microaggressions, which I know this team. I know you don't agree with them and you don't believe in them, but being labelled aggressive. This is really important. Being labelled as aggressive, shouty, angry, which she said was common tropes to be thrown at a black woman, and it's absolutely 100% true because black women are more shouty. But also, as an Asian woman, if I speak louder, people don't like it. I'm definitely white, so I'm going to speak louder. But people don't like it because they're used to Asian women being a lot more subdued. So there is some reasoning behind that.
Not trying to be annoying, but what if you just are aggressive, shouty and angry and it's not racial at all? Like, Leo's quite shouty. It's not really racial, it's just who he is.
I think Leo might be deaf as well, because that's how I knew I was deaf, because I was quite shouty.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe it's racial. It's Scottish.
I'm just brimming with fury.
Leo, unless you're desperate to say something on that, I think we'll move on and do the break. So that's part 2 nailed. After the break, is romance dead? Are drag queens sexist? And should men go on the pill? Sounds unmissable, even to me. See you in 2 minutes.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh, my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. Over a drink, we have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of 2 wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GBNews.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Headliners. You've made it to part 3, and more importantly, so have I. I'm Nick Dixon, and these two to my left, in every sense really, are Sajila Kershi and Leo Kearse. So let's crack on. And The Independent says Anthony Joshua... Well, Anthony Joshua, he didn't really disgrace himself last night in the fight, but he managed to disgrace himself afterwards, which was quite impressive. Leo.
He managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of defeat. So, Anthony Joshua, if you missed the fight in the news, Anthony Joshua lost again to Alexander Usyk, the Ukrainian boxer, but he received criticism for a bizarre post-fight speech in the ring. I don't know if anybody saw this. So they describe it here. A furious Joshua stalked towards the changing room before returning to the ring, grabbing Usyk's 2 belts and dropping them outside the ropes, which is a bit of a, that's a bit of a full-on move. He then confronted Usyk, saying, "You're not strong. How did you beat me? How? I had character and determination," before addressing the crowd with a confused rant about his past and his own shortcomings as a boxer. And he said something about, Ukraine and how I don't really know what's going on there. And it's like, how can you not know, Anthony? You absolute cretin.
It was
you're fighting a Ukrainian.
He kneeled down in the ring and made a big thing of it. As Usyk kneeled, he wore the Ukrainian flag. But yeah, like I say, he left the ring in anger. He came back in on this bizarre rant. He sort of went, "Yeah, some stuff's going down in Ukraine. Don't know exactly, but it's not good." And it was just like, you're just wearing the flag a minute ago, Anthony. What was so fascinating for me, because I'm a big boxing fan, is like Joshua's always very polished. He's got great PR skills and everything. He's like, "I'm just humble man," and blah, blah, blah. And this was like a bit of his real personality. And I like to see the real person. And I'm like, what, Joshua, just be that guy. Just be, if you're angry and aggressive, sometimes just be that. Just be yourself. Because Mike Tyson used to say, "I'll eat your children," and everyone loved him. So just be yourself. But this was really weird. He had a total meltdown. He was saying, like, sarcastic. He was like, 3 cheers for the champ, but in a kind of sarcastic way.
And then he did 5, so he can't even count. I mean, I don't think he's going to have much luck getting a second job.
But then again, we've all had a meltdown at work.
Yeah,
What do you think, Sajid?
Yeah, OK, we would have meltdowns at work. Yeah, I've had meltdowns. Every Edinburgh, I have a meltdown once a month in Edinburgh. But yeah, of course we do. We always have a meltdown. And I speak, like, basically, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I think this is what this guy was doing. And I've seen it, like, even in... At least he's showing that he's passionate about it, and he really wanted it, and he really wanted to win, rather than the fake smiles like, "Oh, well done, no better person could have got it." And I've seen in comedy competitions, when someone doesn't win, and they're like, "I had the best jokes. How did I not get? I was the funny... I definitely got the more laughs. I definitely got the..." You see it. But in a way, I kind of admire that more than the fakery.
But he's passionate about himself, and I think Alexander Usyk, an amazing achievement to come back and do it again after just serving in the military in Ukraine, risking his life, going out there, devoted to his country and achieving that. And so Anthony Joshua, instead of giving him a moment, just to be the champion, Anthony Joshua jumps all over it with his absolute nonsense.
I haven't seen it, by the way. Can I just say I haven't seen it? That sounds bad.
Yeah, no, I watched it.
That sounds very bad. Jumping over someone's crawler. That's not good.
No, what it was just awkward. He took, like Leo says, he took Usyk's moment, and there was a weird flat feeling at the end. So it was bad form. And Usyk, like you say, incredible achievement. Even more incredible because he's come up from cruiserweight to heavyweight, which people said he couldn't do, and he's undefeated. And most important, he always gives the victory to Jesus Christ. But
is that comparable to Kanye West, like taking the glory away from?
Yes, very much like Taylor Swift. Very much like that. Yeah, very much like that. So Monday's Telegraph has someone suggesting drag queens might not be the uncontroversial figures we all thought. Well,
I don't know why they're controversial. I know it's not what you'd expect to hear from me, but I'm all right with drag queens. Reading stories. So Kathy, basically, this is lecturer, claims she was sacked after saying drag acts are sexist. So she's a lecturer. Yet again, we've got another lecturer who basically is saying stuff and getting into trouble with the authorities. She's a cultural studies.
To be very accurate, did she say they were sexist, or did she say she was asking the question? She showed a picture of blackface, and she said, "Is this woman face?" And according to her, she was merely asking the question. And then she was also in trouble because she didn't want to go to a drag night when someone asked her, and that's now a job-losing offence to say, if I said on Fancy Leo's comedy...
I know. I mean,
that's it for me.
At a bare minimum, you've got to drag your 5-year-old children to it as well and teach them how to shove dollar bills parallels into that G-string. No,
I don't think the drag queens were doing that.
Well, she said no. I mean, that was just a flippant comment. But what she did say, and I mean, I think it's great that lecturers in cultural studies are finally getting taken down by the woke brigade, because lecturers in cultural studies are always the most unwoke people. They need to be replaced with welders. But yeah, so she says blackface has always just been racist. Drag is a grotesque caricature of femininity, but it started off as a liberating form of entertainment for gay men ostracised for being effeminate. I was trying to draw parallels with members of more powerful groups in society parodying other members of groups for entertainment. So she was just, discussing the issues, exploring the issues, which obviously in a university you're not allowed to do anymore. So people said that transgender students had been upset, so she had to be fired. And I think it's great. I think, this shows that absolutely not... Even if you're going to go to university and study, cultural studies, something completely and utterly, nonsensical and useless in the real world, you won't even be able to do it because somebody will cry and everything will get shut down.
I'm glad that you let me talk about the woman face as the only woman on the panel. I'm glad that
you feel that Leo had
I'm glad that you jumped on and got on board. No, it's all right, boys. You talk about it. It's all right. It's all right, boys.
I want to hear what...
No.
Classic toxic masculinity.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just growing a moustache as we speak with all the testosterone. That's just fly my way. That's fine.
Do you feel she should have been sacked, though?
Do I feel like she should have been sacked? No, I don't. Because she was doing exactly what a lecturer should do, is getting people to discuss things from a different point of view. And that's what we're losing. We're losing the ability to kind of have a conversation, which is what we do on this show, isn't it? We have a little conversation. I know we don't always agree, and that's fine.
All right, good.
But what if somebody gets upset?
Huh?
What if somebody gets hurt feelings?
Well, they have on this show already.
Well, you deal with the hurt feelings on one-to-one basis, don't you?
All right, this is a very interesting one from The Times, Leo. Romance is out, misery is in.
Yeah, so this isn't a news story, but somebody's written some puff piece in the Times about how there's this new show called Marriage, starring Sean Bean and Nicola Walker. And they talk about a potato, and apparently it's boring. Well, I think that's boring. You haven't read this article about it. And the article says, what happened to fun? Stuff used to be fun. When I was young, everything was fun. Now I'm old, stuff's not fun. Maybe it's not the content on TV that's not fun. Maybe it's you. So they say, there's Marriage Story, which was, oh man, I tried watching that. It's got Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver in it. It's the most excruciating, just awful, toe-curlingly self-referential piece of nonsense. But he also says, I'm assuming it's a man, but they also say, as another example of a lack of escapism, there's a dour bloke beheaded early on in Game of Thrones. And if you're using Game of Thrones as an example of no escapism on TV, I think you've already failed in your article in the third paragraph. And yeah, I mean, I think there's plenty of stuff being made. Rick and Morty, that's loads of fun. It's escapism. There's Travellers on Netflix. All right, it's discontinued, but there's loads of stuff. Is basically what I'm saying.
I thought it was quite interesting because it's about the move from fun romantic comedies to these like Marriage is Miserable. And two things have happened. We've had the decline of marriage and the decline of movies. But actually, if you look at it, it goes all the way back to like Woody Allen's Annie Hall, 1977. He talks about breaking up at the beginning and end of the movie. So it was already pretty miserable back then. What do you think, Sajid?
I actually believe in love, true love, and I believe in romance, so I know it's a bit cheesy. I like a good rom-com. I think there's loads of rom-coms, like I love A Fordington Funeral. Obviously, if that got made again, it'll be 4 weddings because, the snowflakes won't like it. So Titanic, that's historic, but it's also a love story, right? We had that. And I even like Bridgerton. Bridgerton is like a fake historical thing where it's basically Pretty Woman, but instead of prostitutes, you've got the hired help being able to marry the master. Yeah, I love that. Interracial, marriages and stuff. And I'm all for romance.
All right, nice. A nice note for once on the show instead of all the dark stories we cover. So Monday's Daily Mail, a story so degenerate, even Leo Kearse thinks it's a bit much. But I'm going to come to you first, Sajid.
Oh my God, why didn't you give this to Leo? This is so horrible. OK, so a festival stands by professor. This is the Daily Mail. Stand by professor who calls sex with animals society's last taboo as the bizarre event fights back amid calls to cancel the zoo sexuality talk. So this is a festival of dangerous ideas which has been going since 2009 in Sydney by the Sydney Opera House and Ethics Centre. So it doesn't seem like it's that bizarre, but this is almost like this story has been released almost like a joke from someone who's just about to have a Netflix comedy special, you know, like a controversial joke. So I feel this is like a controversial thing. So historian Joanna Berg, you sick little bunny, don't know what she does with those little bunnies. We'll discuss the morals behind humans loving animals and zoosexuality at the Festival of Dangerous Ideas. Now, she's basically saying that this is a discussion about these themes, these ideas, and people are saying, well, you're promoting like you know, bestiality, you're promoting like abuse of animals because they can't give consent. And I don't want to talk about this anymore. Do you know more
it's
about
horrible.
this? It's really gross.
Their argument was that it's just talking about it, but then there was this bizarre quote from the book, interspecies relationships can be complex, rich and fulfilling. And you're like, steady on. And I checked her Twitter, and she is a bit of a lefty. The left just wants to break all taboos, even the ones that should definitely be kept in place.
Well, it's nice to see them trying to break down the barrier with sexuality between adults and animals instead of adults and children for a change, which the left usually seem to be doing. But this is the Festival of Dangerous Ideas. I'd be surprised if there weren't dangerous ideas at it. So, you know, this seems appropriate. You know, like they even say, like, you know, if we were talking about the history of cannibalism, we wouldn't be saying, yes, you should go out and eat someone right now. We'd just be discussing the history and discussing, you know, what it is. Although, just recently I saw a video of a march in Germany by pro-bestiality demonstrators.
There's actually a demonstration of pro-bestiality.
They're being interviewed on the news. Dog with him, and that I couldn't make eye contact with it. That dog.
I can't with you after that. So the Mirror now, Leo, and your lifestyle choices, Leo, might be about to get even more convenient for you.
No, because I'm a married man. We're having a baby. This is a birth control pill for men, which I mean, we've had the birth control pill for women for 60 years. But this is the first time we've got one for men, and it's not based on hormones. So I think the female one is based on hormones, but they tried that with men, and it affects the testosterone, and then you put on weight, and you lose all sort of drive. You turn left wing. You genuinely do turn left wing if you reduce the amount of testosterone in your body. That's probably the only cure for Nick Dixon. But yeah, and you get depressed as well, another sign of being left-wing. But yeah, so this birth control pill apparently is 99% effective in mice. I don't know if that was worked out by the bestiality people.
Yeah, I think it was.
Let's ask Julia, because
let's okay. So men can't even remember to put the toilet seat down, so they're supposed to remember. Okay, how are they going to remember to take this tiny little pill, right? That they're going to swallow, like in a timely manner, so that they don't have an unwanted pregnancy, when up to date they've been forgetting to take out their tiny little thing to stop an unwanted pregnancy. So I'm just saying, I don't think men can be relied to take this pill.
OK, we'll do one more then about Argos deliveries, Leo.
Argos deliveries.
A few seconds.
OK, so Argos has ditched two-man delivery after woke customers made sexism complaints. They're going to change it to two transgender dwarfs. I don't know. But they're not going to say two-man, because that's really offensive, and somebody could cry with their cheap goods from Argos.
Anything on this, Sajila? You've got like 10 seconds to do something amazing.
I like the two-man delivery.
Nice. All right, well, that's all for tonight. Thanks to Sajila Kersey and Leo Kurtz. Back tomorrow at 11 p.m. Be there.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no